whistleblowers are being retaliated against who complain about health and safety, who make safety complaints. That also should be part of this investigation. Why is it that Southern California in a criminal action, criminal conspiracy, is firing whistleblowers who are trying to protect workers and the public? That's an outrage that whistleblowers are being retaliated against. So we're just beginning this effort to demand that these plants be shut down, and also to demand that San Onofre, Southern California Edison, pay for this cost.
Yeah.
They have to pay for this cost. They've created a mess. They've created a nuclear catastrophe, a danger to the people of California, and it's time that they pay the cost. You know, they talked about bringing the highway patrol out here to remove us. I say the highway patrol should be sent to arrest the executives of Southern California Edison.
Yeah.
That's where the highway patrol should be. Not the people who are trying to protect the public here in California. We need to have a priority to protect the people and not the executives and the nuclear criminals who are really covering up this disaster. So our first speaker is going to be Ruthie Sakai. It's Beth. Beth. She is with the Occupy San Francisco, who's endorsing this. And Beth, why don't you come up here and explain why Occupy San Francisco is supporting this effort here at the Public Utility Commission hearing. Welcome, Beth.
Hi, Occupy Environmental Justice supports shutting down San Onofre and all nuclear. They talked about costs. They talk about costs in this hearing, but do they include the costs of the future generations, the unborn children, the species across the world that are being radiated?
And all of us.
The radiation that's brought by winds from one side of the earth to the other side? Why are these costs not included? Why does our system say that it's only financial costs and dollars that matter, but not the cost of human life and the life of species on Earth? It'll be millions of years before this radiation leaves the Earth, yet we're just fine. There's solar available, there's wind, there's all kinds of alternative energy that's been suppressed by the oil and gas industry in collusion with government entities. They're suppressing the fact that it would cost much less to use solar, wind alternatives so that they can put on this propaganda campaign that nuclear is safe when it's going to kill life on Earth eventually.
Thank you. Okay. Would you like to speak? Okay. There are people who came here from Southern California to let their voices heard, and we are happy to join with them. Northern California people and Southern California people. And welcome. What's your name?
I'm Martha Sullivan, and I'm here representing the Coalition to Decommission San Onofre. We represent several grassroots organizations in Southern California, including Citizens Oversight Projects, the Peace Resource Center of San Diego, Residents Organized for a Safe Environment, and San Clemente Green. And we're really here on behalf of the 8.5 million people who live within 50 miles of San Onofre. And we're here at the PUC because the PUC controls the purse string for Edison and for SDG&E, who own this plant, this defective plant, and Edison is the operator as the 80% owner. We're here because the leverage for us to shut San Onofre down here at the PUC has to do with cost. So it's clear that this is a bottomless pit of money. And as I said in the pre-hearing conference today, what is totally nonsensical to us is that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, who has legal jurisdiction over the safety of this plant, is considering a proposal by Edison to restart one of the admittedly failed nuclear reactors at 70% power, because that's the most they think they could run it, you know, without something bad happening. But it's a total experiment. They don't know that for a fact. That's a whole different thing, and we're active in participating in that as well, and we're putting as much pressure as we can on the NRC to not allow that to happen. But in the meantime, you know, it's basic sort of business law if your contractor screws up, you don't give them a blank check to keep working and run the tab up some more. So, you know, we need for our state regulators to tell Edison, you know, no more blank checks. You need to stop. You know, we'd like them to stop completely, but they at least have to stop until we know how many more costs they're going to run up, and we know who's going to be responsible for it. I mean, that's a basic premise. Now, I believe, you know, based on 20 years working for the commission, I believe that we're going to wind up in the same place that we wound up with Unit 1 at San Onofre back in the early 90s, when a similar kind of thing happened. There had to be repairs made to Unit 1. The commission wound up finding that it wouldn't be cost effective to make those and keep operating it. And Edison and SDG&E decided to shut it down rather than make their shareholders pay for it. So I expect a very similar thing, hopefully, is going to happen here, because it's all the same variable. It's just going to take some time, and what we've got to do is keep Edison and SDG&E from running up the bills anymore. It's just crazy, it's insane. And then we need to decommission that plant altogether and get rid of it, because it's unsafe. We know it's unsafe. You know, Edison admits that it's a failure and it's flawed, and it's crazy. It's not even cost effective anymore. We're going to get 1/3 of the power out of it if they are able to run it as they want it. So it's just, there's better ways to do this. We know there's better ways to do this, and we've survived for a year without Edison, I mean, without San Onofre.
That's right.
And everybody's planning on the next year without San Onofre. So let's just keep doing that. Yeah. We've shown we can do it. Let's just keep doing it.
Yeah, let's keep doing it.
I've been asked to say on behalf of a couple of our coalition partners. One, Residents Organized for a Safe Environment, Rose, that's based in San Clemente, very near San Onofre, wants to ask everybody to support the Change.org petition that's been put up by the San Bruno fire survivors to demand Governor Brown appoint another president of the commission, because the current president, Michael Peavy, has been the president of the commission for 10 years. He's one of the 5 commissioners. He's been the president for 10 years. He controls the agenda at the commission. He controls basically what gets taken up by the commission, you know, what procedures are used. And it's time for him to not have a stranglehold on that. He used to be the CEO of Edison before he, you know, was came on to the PUC. It's a revolving door, and 10 years is long enough. He's shown that in the San Bruno fire mismanagement. He's shown that in the San Onofre mismanagement. So we'd like to encourage everybody to go on change.org, just, you know, enter Peavy, P-E-E-V-E-Y in the search, and I'm sure that petition will come up. The other thing is we want to, Edison and SDG&E have filed a motion for a protective order in this investigation, which means, and they've done the same thing at the NRC, which means they want to continue to keep the public in the dark about how badly they've screwed up. And we want to, just as we've done at the NRC, we want to encourage the PUC, which has a much better track record for allowing public information to get out. We want to encourage them to continue to do that, because it's very much in the public interest that we know how badly Edison screwed up. And then we know how they screwed up, how it happened, what happened, and that not be duplicated anyplace else. And the other point, and this is something that Citizens Oversight Project made in their filing with the NRC to oppose a protective order at the NRC, is, does Edison really think anybody else wants to use this failed design? I mean, hopefully no other competitor wants to use this failed design. So the logic to keep it, you know, confidential, it just fails us. So anyway, thanks everybody for being here. Southern Californians really appreciate it.
PV out, shut them down now.
Yeah.
PV out, shut them down now. PV out, shut them down now. PV out,
Shut them down now.
PV out.
Shut them down now.
PV out! Shut them down now! PV out! Shut them down now!
PV out.
Our next speaker is going to be Umi, and she's from the No Nukes Action Committee. Welcome, Umi Hagatani.
Hi.
Recently returned from Japan.
Yeah, the reasons that I came back from Japan is I think it's really important to support anti-nukes movement in California. Because like I think what I realized is in Japan, like during the 3 months in Japan, like I talked about like what's been going on in Japan and what's been going on in the US as a support, but people are really surprised by the fact that the California actually have 2 nuclear power reactors instead of 62 or 100, and people want to know how they are shut down or how people fought against that, and that's going to be a really great help, you know, if you keep, you know, raise your voice. But at the same time, like you notice that NRC and DOE and everybody is saying that we have to keep the plutonium and we have to make this political distance between Fukushima and here. And they say, oh, it's about undemocratic country and it is about Japan, it is about tsunami, so therefore our nukes are safe or something. And that's totally a lie, right? Yeah, it's a lie.
Our nukes are on earthquake fault.
Yeah. So like San Onofre is a good chance, and California a great chance that we can actually have very similar things. And it's so not fair that DOE or like all these like industries have been doing a lot of experiments, so they know what's going to happen. They have done like so many experiments in Idaho, and we know data. We have the data, but it's never disclosed. And meanwhile, like 160,000 people from Japan, northeast regions are evacuating. So we're not only talking about the money that we're paying, but they're just really not seeing the lives of the people. And that is really disrespectful. I feel like assaulted, and you must feel that it's an assault to you. And we have so much things to take care of. Like if we want to work on the recession, we want to work in so many other things, and we have so much priorities. We don't want to take more time on this. And once the nuclear accident happens, man, like I have been to hell. Like I was literally like going through like really shitty things, and I was back in Japan for 3 months, and I had to eat like bananas from Philippines, salmons from Chile. What kind of life do I want to lead? Do I want to be still capitalistic, and do I want to exploit these people? Do I want to like sacrifice other people's life just because I want to eat this, or I want to, you know, just maintain? And like it's the time and the phase that we have to really think, you know. So I don't know, I'm so glad that you all are here. And yeah,
what percentage of Japan now has solar?
We're going to have other speakers.
What percent are they powered by solar now? Are they implementing solar?
They are not implementing solar enough. The question is still the same, and I think like people, when the people are attacked by like both the earthquakes and a nuclear accident, this is what I found, like people are in a really, really contained, isolated states. So a lot of people ask me like, you know, when do you think we should stop and shut down all the nukes? That's the questions that I was asked in Japan. When should Japan stop this? And I said like now. And they say like, you're not being scientific and you're not talking about solar energy, do you? You know, or something like that. And if I say like, oh yeah, but the military system has sustained itself, and the war has been really fueled by the solar power in Iraq or in Afghanistan. And if I talk about that, people get mad because people want to stay the same. The people, especially people from Tokyo place, like Tokyo urban sites, they really don't want to think about it. So they would say like, oh, you're talking about Iraq, you're talking about California, that's why you have solar, but like we don't have that much energy. People still want to think about this like energy problem as the energy problem, not the human rights problem. And also people have this, you know, fear for the terrorism that is made up by multi-state governments, people are really scared of that. So when you go on the train, it's really bad that 60% of the advertisement on the train says like you have to worry about your skin, you have to speak English, you have to eat food from Northeast so you can support, and something like be scared of China or North Korea. And that is really ridiculous. And I know that is going on here too. And we have no time to be mesmerized, but people are like, just don't talk about solar power. Yeah, but that's it. Yeah, so Barbara.
Thank you.
Great.
Also, Barbara, George is here, and she's going to introduce Micah Gary, who's an attorney. I mean, one of the things is that we're for open documents, transparency. We cannot allow the California Public Utility Commission, led by a crook and a liar, Michael Peavy, to silence people about what's really going on.
Right.
So welcome, Michael Agave.
You want me to be right here?
Yes.
Is this good for everybody?
Okay. Why don't you step down one?
Okay. I hate to step down any further than I already am.
It's kind of odd because everybody, I mean,
Yeah, but this is good. This
set
is
it up the other way, but
well,
the way we ended up doing it.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Micah Gary, and I used to be, when I was in school, I was student body president at UC Berkeley, so whenever I get anywhere near Berkeley, it kind of brings out my juices. I was just thinking as I was looking around.
Tell them a little bit about your other work. Too.
Okay, I will. As I was looking around and all these wonderful faces of the people that have gathered here to represent the victims of Southern Cal Edison's reckless behavior in going forward with these replacement generators without safety, without complying with the NRC rules, without going through the proper process. And I was thinking about the fact that you are here, and over the years, back to the time in which the Public Utilities Commission was first created back in 1913, that you're part of a whole line of people that have stood up first to the railroads and now to the utilities. And I just want to say that although today it doesn't look like our cause is going to move forward, I believe it is going to move forward. And I believe it's going to move forward because truth is on our side, and they cannot stall. As they used to say, you can run but you can't hide. And you can run from the people that have the knowledge, but you can't hide from us. And what we're going to do is, with ever greater amounts of support, ever greater and increasing awareness on the part of the people of Orange County and San Diego County and those that are within the reach of the nuclear power plant at San Onofre, we're going to bring out the fact that this plant was not safe with the generators that were put in there, that there was knowledge that it was not safe, and that the cost of those generators, the costs that had to be incurred with the replacement power when those generators went down, and all the other related costs, those need to be pushed back onto the shoulders of Southern Cal Edison.
That's right.
We need not and should not be figuring out ways to bring those nuclear power plants, that nuclear power plant, back online so that they can retain their position as part of the rate base and charge the people of California a profit for a plant that produces no electricity. We need to work together and to spread the word and to have faith that we can ultimately be successful. We will be successful. Today was just the start. I wish I could tell everyone how well received we were by the commissioner and the ALJ. But one thing, which isn't true, but I will tell you that we made them feel very, very uncomfortable because what they were selling, nobody that was honest with themselves was buying. So let's look forward to meeting up again to gathering evidence amongst ourselves, the word to go out to all those that may have information about the generators or any other information that could be helpful, the whistleblowers to come forward, the lawyers and the investigators and the community organizers to come together, and let's build into a crescendo that ultimately results in the public shutting down that plant because it's not cost effective.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
Shut it down!
Shut it down!
Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
Shut it down! Shut it down!
Well, one of the very interesting things about this is that they are talking about getting this plant online when they know for a fact that it's inefficient and you can produce more energy cheaper even by gas and other alternative energies. But they didn't want that to be addressed here, I think, at this commission. They don't really want people to know that California can be nuclear free. We don't need nuclear plants. Why do they want to keep that a secret? So,
oh, you're going to go.
okay, so why don't you introduce yourself?
Post-economic consulting. For 40 years, nuclear power has been a public issue in California. Started since at least 1972 with the vote on Proposition 20, which established the Coastal Commission. Most recently, public polls by PPIC, this is a 2011 poll, have indicated that 65% of the population in California is opposed to nuclear power, 30% in favor. This is a dramatic decline from 2010 and the lowest level of support for nuclear power since PPIC began polling. It's high time that the Commission looked at whether these facilities should be decommissioned or not. We need to look at all of the benefits, we need to look at all of the costs, and the Commission needs to make a determination. Yet the Commission seems resistant to do that, despite my efforts and Barbara George's efforts over the past several years. Myself for the last 16 months and Barbara for much longer. Today we were told at the pre-hearing conference that, oh, that's going to be done in the long-term procurement plan. But it was, in fact, in the scope of this proceeding. So we don't really know. Okay. You know, one thing people could do would be to demand a public participation hearing where everyone can come and speak, not just parties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Yes, it was great.
Oh, we've got a table at Max's for 10, so.
Table for 10
Okay.
at Max's.
Okay,
All right.
why don't you introduce yourself
Sounds
and talk about your work?
Sure.
Barbara
Yes,
is
we will.
a longtime activist here fighting at this commission. It's like pulling teeth to get these people to move. You know, as you can see at this hearing today, they really don't want to hear from us. And if they do hear from us, they say, well, we're going to wait until Southern California Edison decides what they're going to do. As the lawyer pointed out earlier, they were told come up with the documentation, the information. They refused to do that. So that's really contempt of court. She should have said to him, you're going to be in jail unless you produce the documents.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. People's lives are in danger because you're refusing to produce the documents.
Yeah.
And that contempt for the people of California and the worker has to be addressed not by pussyfooting around, not by patting them on the shoulders, by telling them you're going to go to jail if you don't produce the documents. The people of California have a right to have all the information about this plant, about the cover-up, and about the whistleblowers who've been retaliated against, fired for trying to make us safe, for trying to make the workers safe. These workers have been fired, retaliated against, they're afraid to speak out. Now what kind of oversight do you have in the nuclear industry when the workers who are in charge of health and safety get fired and get blackballed and prevented from getting jobs because of telling the truth? That's criminal. That should be the scope of this commission. What's happened to the whistleblowers? What's happened to the whistleblowers? And we have to call for criminal action. There should be criminal penalties for workers who are fired and discriminated against because of making whistleblower complaints. They should go to jail. In the United States, no manager and no executive has gone to jail for retaliating against a whistleblower at a nuclear plant. Why is that? When our lives are in danger, when millions of lives are in danger, millions of people can be contaminated because of the fact that they're running these plants illegally and improperly. Yet nobody's gone to jail. We have to say it's time for accountability, and it's time for these people to be held responsible for what they're doing here at the California Public Utility Commission. And Governor Brown needs to be told, get the crooks out of the Public Utility Commission. How can you have the former president of the Southern California Edison, the chairman of the Public Utility Commission? That's putting the fox to guard the chickens. That's right. How can you have that? How can you have Peavy to continue to be chairman of this Public Utility Commission when he was president, CEO of the Southern California Edison Company? Do you think you're going to get justice? Do you think you're going to get accountability? when an executive is in charge of the Public Utility Commission? Is that really a Public Utility Commission, or is that a cover-up commission?
Yeah.
That's what we have to ask here. So Barbara, did you want to speak about what you've been doing here?
Sure. I'm so happy to see all of you coming out on January 8th. This is an amazing day in my, life, because the commission is finally looking at the closure potential, or the at least the investigation of the closure of the San Onofre nuclear power plant. I mean, let's appreciate the fact that it's already closed. Yeah, and we got to dismantle it, and we got to do something about the decommissioning funds. But I have to tell you, there is a hideous decision that they looked at quickly in December, and they held it for January. So it's coming up later this month for the decommissioning funds to be put into derivatives on the stock market. Are you ready for that? So this is the kind of thing that we're going to have to be watching every piece of this as we go forward. Where can I start? Here's where I did start. I'm a party in these proceedings. I've been doing this for 12 years. I've been in these crazy hearings. And, as horrible as it looks, at times, progress is made when there are voices for the public in the proceedings. I have to say that I, was alone in a lot of proceedings in the first 5-6 years, and gradually there have been other clean energy parties and other people like Steve now and Michael Aguirre and other parties like Friends of the Earth, and an incredible team of people in this proceeding who are saying no more. We're going to shut this down. We're going to figure out how to do something different. And so this is really where I've focused on in the long-term procurement proceeding, as well as in this one. I've said, look, nuclear power plants are not reliable. We have to assume these ancient old jalopies, they're going to break down. They're going to be offline when you least expect it, just like they were. I mean, this last year. Yeah. It's like, we didn't have that plant during the summer, and guess what? There wasn't any blackouts. I mean, Edison was lying to everybody, saying we're going to have blackouts, and in the long-term procurement proceeding, they said, oh, well, we can't consider this the possibility of replacing nukes because it would take 7 to 10 years. And I said, well, then we ought to get started on it.
Yeah.
So now we're at the point in the procurement proceeding and in this one of considering what to do for clean energy resources as replacement. What happened this past year was not clean. It was an old gas plant. It was actually an old Edison gas plant, and they lied about the fact that it was an Edison gas plant that they started up to use for replacement resources. So we'll have some fun getting to the bottom of that one in this proceeding. Anyway, that's not available. And in the procurement proceeding, I am very happy to say that the Commission, after an incredible amount of work by myself and other parties for years and years and years, are now at the point of getting the Commission to order the utilities to use clean energy resources in local areas. Right now, what they've been doing is just, we have energy efficiency, but it's kind of somewhere in the territory. We don't know where it is, and so if we need power for any particular place where there's transmission constraints, in other words, you can't bring power from outside into Los Angeles, you have to do something that's right there. So, guess what? We think that they're using preferred resources, which is energy efficiency, demand response, local renewable distributed generation, that's solar on your rooftops, and other renewable energy. We think that's part of California's energy system. It's definitely the press release for California. But guess what? It's not qualified to be a resource. And why is it not qualified? It's because they don't know where it is. And I'm like, are you serious? Of course you know where it is. The utility had to interconnect the solar power on your rooftop. They had people going into buildings to do energy efficiency. Of course you know where it is. You could write that down. They were like, oh, well, that would be really complicated. We'd have to do like smart meters and all that stuff before we could possibly figure out where that stuff is. I said, no, you've got heads of lettuce in every supermarket. We know where that came from because they have to have clean, clean food. So yeah, we can actually figure out where the energy efficiency is and where the local solar is. And at this point, I'm happy to say there was a proposed decision in the procurement case that says we're actually going to use 450 megawatts of clean resources in the local capacity area of Los Angeles. They're also talking about using 1,000 megawatts of gas, which is 2 great big power plants. I'm saying, no, you should make it all preferred resources. And there's a bunch of other parties that are saying the same thing. So I have to tell you, as bad as it looks, Steve, it actually, you inch forward and there is some change to be made. But what really needs to happen is that people need to show up. That's where I bless you for coming out. Very short notice right after New Year's, but after all, it is, a chance to celebrate a nuclear-free New Year.
It's a good way to start a new year.
It's a good way
also,
to start.
This Friday, unfortunately, the Japanese government has announced, Prime Minister Abe, that they think that they should restart all the nuclear plants.
Steve, I wanted to talk about that a second because the most amazing thing is we heard that Hillary Clinton, in her last effort before she got a blood clot, was going to Japan, just like she did right after Fukushima, and saying you need to keep your nuclear industry alive. But when I thought about it, I realized, there's something very, the relationship between the United States and Japan on nuclear power is just becoming more known, and that is what I'm so grateful for No Nukes Action for doing the work to educate us about the relationship that we have with Japan. Because what has happened is that when our nuclear plants, when nobody in the U.S. and none of the utilities were going to build another nuke for years and years and years because of the 3 Mile Island accident and because it was not an economic, answer to anything, what happened was that we were promoting the Japanese building nuclear power plants, and unknown to us, what has happened over the years is that Westinghouse and General Electric, which were the big nuclear power producers, they were the ones who built the power plants. They built your toaster and they built a nuclear power plant, and they sold off those divisions to Japanese companies. So one of the reasons why our Secretary of State is hawking nuclear power in Japan and begging them to keep their industry alive is because their industry is now related intimately to our industry, and we don't have one anymore. Basically, there isn't any place in this country where they manufacture replacement parts. That's why Mitsubishi ended up building these steam generators. So having it known that the Japanese connection and the way that our government and our nuclear industry has interfered with the democratic processes in Japan is, coming out with our incredible relationship here in the Bay Area and in California with between our countries. And knowing the Fukushima radiation has arrived here and that our food products are already showing up radioactive contamination from Fukushima. Think about what would happen if San Onofre went down. I mean, you would have incredible radiation. You would lose, or for that matter, Diablo Canyon. The California nuclear power plants could radiate the food supply of the United States and a lot of the rest of the world that get their food from us. So this is, I have every confidence that this is going to be the end for the nuclear power plants in California. We're going to start here, and I thank you for being part of the beginning.
Despite there are so many protests in Japan, locally and the city in Tokyo, we are totally crushed. We are totally wiped out. But here, we cannot wiped out. We have to really stand up because you see the Japan. Please learn from Fukushima, not only Fukushima and Chernobyl in Russia. We have to learn what happened if it accident happened. And then the San Onofre plant has so many problems. As long as a human being going to operate the nuclear plants anywhere, there are deception, collusion, mistakes, misjudgment, harassment, so many problems. Why we have to depend on the nuclear plant? There are so many new energy, sustainable, renewable energy. We have to invest our energy and money for that. We really don't need another Fukushima again.
Yeah.
Here, Japan, everywhere in Earth. So I really like to protest again to Japanese government also. Every 11th of every month, we are protesting to Japanese government, also the California too. Please halt all the nuclear plants and shut down. Please gather to front of the Japanese consulate in San Francisco, 3 o'clock, every 11th of month.
50 Fremont. 50
Yeah, 50 Fremont Street. And I like to say, never again Fukushima. Fukushima, never again.
Fukushima, never again.
Fukushima, never again. Fukushima, never again.